So one of the things I teach in sales is the pattern interrupt. People think, feel, behave, act in fixed patterns. When you interrupt those patterns, you create a temporary window of suggestibility, and they don't know what to do. And then they can be led. So for example, I came up with this. I used to get all the time when I would ask a woman on a date, I have a boyfriend. Now, 100% of the women in the world can't have boyfriends. It's a smokescreen sometimes. And so rather than argue, which is what most guys would do, which would fit her pattern of expectation, or beg, or just walk away, my response would be, well, Marcia, you don't need to convince me someone else finds you attractive. That's not how I'll make up my mind about you. And immediately that broke the pattern. She wasn't expecting it. I'd get a laugh. I'd just hand over my cell phone. I'd just go like that and shut up. And 30% of the time I'd get the date and get the girlfriend. So I figured this is something I could use in sales. And I'll show you a sales application, because I've probably turned off and offended half your audience, but I don't care.
Actually, I'm going to stop you right there, Paul, and just mention that actually one of my first talks, I spoke about how the first book probably that I read about sales was actually The Game by Neil Strauss.
Ross Jeffries from The Game.
There we go. I remember you now. I didn't make the dots connect.
It's me, Ross Jeffries from The Game. There you go.
There you go. And so you've probably not lost any of the audience. I think you've made everybody lean in and say, tell me more.
Well, so how does this apply to sales, the pattern interrupt? Let's say someone says, I need more time to think it over. What are they expecting the salesperson to say? To give me an example, as you teach people, if someone said, I need more time to think it over, what would your reply be, your response to that?
I think if you'd go through a traditional sales training, you'd be asking, like, oh, what are the specific things you want to talk about? Because that way we might be able to identify what is the objection and give you a proper response to that. What's the problem
with that? Problem with that is immediately you're coming off as the one who needs something from them. Mm-hmm. You're putting yourself into the inferior position. You're positioning yourself as the one who's seeking value from them. Instead, I want to shock them. So role play with me. Just say, I need more time to think it over, Paul. Just say that.
Paul, I need more time to think it over.
Hey, I understand. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have you ever taken a long time to think something over and it still turned out to be a horrible decision?
Yeah,
maybe it's not about time, but about the clarity you need to recognize a great decision is being made. So thinking about it like that, why don't we take a step back from this excitement and have a look at all the things you need to understand and recognize you can move forward. Let's start with this. And then I move down the list of items. So immediately, what am I doing? I'm attaching that objection to a painful experience I absolutely know they've had in the past, because it's happened to everyone. It's a universal. This is what I call a counterexample. So immediately it shocks the brain. So the brain can no longer hold on to the objection. In effect, it's a hypnotic command to give the person amnesia. It's no different than if I drop a person into a deep trance and gave them amnesia for all or some of what happened in the trance. It's all effective communication has a hypnotic elements to it. So therefore, we may as well use it with deliberateness or it will automatically work against us. So we linked it to pain. And then we redefine the meaning of it to be not about time, but about clarity. Once we get them to buy in, it's about clarity, then what's the implication? The implication is once they get clear, of course they're going to buy, because that's the only thing that was standing in their way. So you're achieving so much in the space of 2 sentences. So you get my point. You see the power of this.
100%. And what makes me think right now is that there's a lot of retraining that is necessary about what is our natural human response to adversity, right? In sales, like, we're going to be facing objections and we're kind of, having to step up to the challenge. But it sounds like our natural responses are not adequate to play with the subconscious and to gain an advantage, because your response you did right there is a trained response, isn't it?
Correct. And this is where this whole bullshit stuff about always be authentic, always be authentic. When I hear someone come to me, whether it's in the field of pickup or sales, and they say, well, that's not really being me. That wouldn't be being authentic. What I hear is I want to stick with my habitual patterns that feel comfortable to me, that I'm used to doing for 10,000 times. And I'll say, great, how's that working out for you? And I know you're not authentic anyway. When you get pulled over by a cop and you're in a hurry, or maybe you need to pee, or you're in a bad mood, authentically, you like to tell the cop to kiss you where the sun don't shine, but you're not going to do that. So, or your auntie knits you a sweater for Christmas or Hanukkah and it's horrible. And she says, how do you like it? And you say, it's beautiful, auntie, when you can't wait to give it to the dog to piss on.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
It's not
listen,
important to be authentic. It's important to be more flexible than your client.
And what I'm getting at is that there's a lot of these things you could learn wrongly as well, because what you're speaking about are things that you've put into practice. You've seen how it reframes. And so when I want to put myself in a position of improving my sales skills, like I need to pick up the right book, and I need to realize that, okay, there's specific things I need to apply, but even more than that, there's specific resistances I need to overcome to be even open to applying it. Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.